Last summer, when I was riding my bike, I talked about a few different subjects, and I'm putting them together as short videos that just kind of give some pearls of wisdom from my days of sailing. In this video, I'm going to try to explain my ideas of what you do to protect yourself from really heavy weather. You get out, usually like this would be you making a crossing, and things go bad. That hurricane didn't go where you expected it to, or there was just a huge storm. These are some tactics for handling heavy weather. Okay, well, we've talked about finding weather, choosing your weather a bit. Well, how about dealing with weather? Might be a different topic for a different video, but let's say you're out sailing and it gets bad. Bad just means you don't like it, right? Well, how do you deal with it? Too much wind. Starts out, that means reefing, of course. More wind, less sail you need. Still plenty of energy in that smaller amount of sail when the wind is blowing more. Got to know your boat and you got to know your capabilities. A lot of people, new cruisers, reef right the heck down. And they reef down so much that, at least in the lulls between the puffs of wind, between the gusts, they don't have enough energy to control the boat well. The faster the boat's traveling, the more comfortable the ride's going to be. And generally, the more control you have. Not true, of course, if you're overpowered and you're just laying on your ear, but you need enough. And as the wind blows more, my water bottle. As the wind blows more, it tends to get gustier. And from a pure physics point of view, gusty boils down to too much energy, not enough energy, too much energy. Here's where having a heavy boat helps. If you have a light boat, it reacts real fast to the wind. And you really have no choice but to reef way the heck down so that you don't get overpowered, because that can be bad. If you have a heavier, older boat, big keel, I find that for the most part, they're way more gust tolerant. So you can rig the boat for the lighter airs or the average air, be overpowered for a few seconds now and again, deal with it. Maybe your autopilot grunts a little bit, but it'll be fine. One of the reasons I'm a fan of the heavier boats. Okay, this is my turnaround. Let's start going back. Feeling good. Probably because I've only gone 15 miles an hour. Thanks for the excuse to pedal slow. Okay, so reefing down. The waves can get big, and that can be a whole different deal, you know. If the waves are large, that can be real uncomfortable. If they're on large and they're on your bow, it can really slow down your forward progress, because if the waves slap on your hull, that's a whole lot of energy the sails have to put back in. And you can get in situations where you virtually stop with every wave. If it's the Caribbean, those are short, steep waves, and it just makes it tough. If anybody knows how to solve that, tell me. Again, the heavier boat seems to help. A narrow boat seems to help. But I've never figured it out. It slows me down too. The waves are from behind. You can get conditions where the boat kind of wants to speed up going down the waves, especially if it's like Pacific waves, long ones. This can be fun. You can go real fast, but you can go too fast. And some boats, when they go too fast, especially when they're on a wave like that, they can broach. They can kind of trip over their own keel, as it were. And for that and other reasons, you might want to keep the speed under control. And reefing might not be enough. You can drag something off the back of the boat. There's lots of fancy drogues out there. I've owned so many of them, and I've never deployed a one of them. But I'm lucky, my boat's pretty good in that condition. Sailed to Hawaii in a boat that was not good in that condition. It was the worst experience I've had at sea. And we still didn't do a droog. We wanted to make time, and we just dealt with the broaching. But you can drag things. Is it worth having a custom prepared device to drag over the back? I'm starting to become an advocate for no. It's just another piece of gear you may never use. If you take a whole lot of line and drag it over the back, it actually, I understand, makes a big difference in controlling the boat speed and keeping it from like fishtailing, because if it does try to broach, it's kind of accelerating the back end and jerking on that rope. So on Temptress now, if I felt I really needed that, I'd just take all my nylon anchor line, tie it together, or shackle it together, and put it off in a big loop behind the boat. It would also be so much easier to recover compared to those droogs or other things. If things go very bad, you've got sea anchor. That's a whole different idea, and I like the idea of it. I carried one for years and years. I'm not carrying it now. It's in the shed of my house. Mine is a military parachute, a lot cheaper than buying a purpose-made one. But you put this in off the bow, and you take down your sails, and you essentially anchor to the ocean, right? So the wind is pushing you, and you are pulling on the parachute and trying to pull it through the water. Well, it's a parachute. Water's pretty dense. It provides a lot of stickiness to the ocean, and people that use them say you're doing like a half a knot. You are moving, wouldn't work if you weren't moving, but you're not moving fast. So first off, if you were on a lee shore that was 2 days away and the storm is going to be blasting you for 4 days, put that down. Give you more time, you know? Number one reason, maybe. Number two is if you add one more piece of gear, a little bridle going to the sternish part of your boat and clipping over the line that goes out to the droog, out to the parachute, you can winch that in, and that'll hold your boat sideways to the wind. And when the boat's sideways to the wind is going to push it over like it's heeled. And when a boat is over, it won't start pendulum. Like if it's into the wind, it'll do this a lot and it'll be miserable. You turn it sideways and it heels over. It's kind of this dynamic energy between the keel wanting to stand it up and the wind wanting to push down. So it's not going to bob around so much. And that could be very important. And possibly the most important thing is, once you throw that thing in the water, you have lost control of your boat until you either recover it, which means the storm is over, or you cut it free. So psychologically, you're now on vacation. Now you can strap yourself in a bunk and say, whatever happens, happens. Where if you're still fighting things, you're working. So while you still have some energy left, if you're getting exhausted, it's a good thing to consider. Final thing about droogs, again, theory. I haven't deployed one in, when I needed one, when it was blowing enough to be worth it. It's slipping through the water, pretty near the surface, let's hope. And it's pulling the water with you at a half a knot, kind of causing a current. And if the boat is turned sideways, your keel is doing the same thing, pushing the surface of the water in the direction of the wind. Now, if a wave is coming at you, waves aren't really a problem. It's breaking waves that are a problem. So if the wave is coming at you and it hasn't built up enough energy to break yet, go pass underneath you. You've had that happen a million times. This is just bigger, same thing. If it has plenty of energy and it's about to break, breaks before it gets to you. Again, not your problem. It's that wave that's going to break right on your boat that's going to make your day miserable. And that wave's coming at you, and when it goes through those two slicks of water accelerated with the wave, that takes energy right out of the wave. And people who've done this in a storm and sat there watching the waves felt that nothing was breaking on them. Well, I think that's a cool thing. And that had a lot to do with why I rigged my Droog up and carried it around for all those years.